Hola, somos Tania Moreno y Daniela Álvarez de TCU.
Y estás escuchando College Volleyball Weekly. ¡Go Frogs!
This is Tania Moreno and Daniela Álvarez from TCU.
And you're on College Beach Volleyball Weekly. ¡Go Frogs!
Hi everyone, I'm Charlie Ekstrom of Stanford Beach Volleyball, and you are listening to College Volleyball Weekly Beach Edition.
Hi, I'm Alana Rennie of Arizona Beach Volleyball.
And I'm Alex Parker of Arizona Beach Volleyball, and you're listening to College Beach Volleyball Weekly. Is that right? No.
Hey everyone, it's another edition or episode, whatever you want to call it, of College Volleyball Weekly Beach Top 20 edition. And I was going to call it the Behind Mac's Back episode, but she found out about it, so it's no longer going to happen. But it's official. It's turned into an FAU takeover because Charlie had a team dinner she forgot about, but she is a team player. They're playing the Pac-12 North at U of A this weekend. And Mads, being the professional that she is, she's reporting on the sideline for a baseball game tonight on the ACC network. So good for her. But, you know, the timing couldn't have been better to have this pair on board today, Erica Brok and Mackenzie Morris of FAU, after such a intense weekend at March to May, which we'll talk about in a little bit. But hey, thanks for coming on, ladies.
Of course. Thanks for having us again.
Again, no, it's the first time. No, I mean, yeah, you're excellent guests in the preseason. I mean, it was a great episode, but everyone knew they were watching FAU's number ones, which is you two. And you guys have been doing great things so far, which we'll get to a little further into our segment. But I wanted to talk about the other teams that have been performing and been catching others' eyes that are following collegiate beach volleyball. Start off with I didn't even update my rankings, but Pepperdine, there's a lot of question as to if they were a legitimate top 20 team because they hadn't played anyone super competitive, but they ended up beating Long Beach State 3-2, Southern Miss 5-0, and Concordia 5-0, and Cal State Bakersfield, who entered the top 20 just weeks ago, but fell back out recently. But what do you guys know about Pepperdine?
This year, I don't know much about them, but we do play them in not this weekend, but the next weekend. So I'm excited to see how, because I think the West Coast and the East Coast are really separated, and it's great to see when they come together so you can actually have something to compare against. I'm not impressed with them so far, but that doesn't mean that they're not good. I just don't think that they've challenged themselves or gotten any big wins yet. So,
right.
Yeah.
Yep. How about you, Mac?
Only know like kind of the old Pepperdine, like Corinne Quiggle, Brooke Bauer type of team that was, you know, ranked really high, and now they've kind of fallen back. But I don't know if they've had a fair chance this year yet to really prove themselves or not. So I guess I'm just interested to see, you know, how they keep performing as they face tougher teams in the future.
Well, one thing that's caught my eyes are number two pairs of Simone Prieby and Mckenna Thomas, who have been on fire for the Waves. So definitely a team to watch. You know, Marcio Sicoli definitely has a great coaching resume, but I know that he's going to pull out some big wins here come the push towards Gulf Shores. Next thing I want to look at, I hate to mention it for you guys because we were talking before we went on. South Carolina had a pretty big weekend. We'll call it an upset against FAU, 3-2, Tulane, 4-1, UAB 5-0, and their losses were to LSU and Florida State. But what can you gather about this South Carolina team? Are they worthy of top 15 or maybe even pushing in the top 10? So start with you, Mac.
I think for sure they're an extremely scrappy team. They have like their own style of play. They're super energetic, yelling, and that can be somewhat intimidating to some teams. I mean, they definitely put up a good fight against us and got the win, but I definitely think they're a top 15 team. They performed really well this weekend.
Yeah. How about you, Erica?
We weren't expecting, like we always knew that they were good, but we weren't expecting them to be that scrappy. They did not let a ball hit the ground. And so I applaud them for that. That is really good. And I think they're going to have a really good season this year. I know they had a rough start, but maybe they were trying to figure out the lineup and stuff. And I think they're a really good team.
Yeah. Another team that you may be familiar with, which could be another sore subject, Georgia State. One of the things that I realized this last weekend in Gulf Shores after seeing some of them play, they too are a very scrappy and crafty team. They did a lot of option overs on two and even on ones, but man, they gave UCLA a pretty good run this weekend in Gulf Shores. But how did you guys fare, and how do you feel they will perform come postseason?
So I know they're in our conference, and I know I'm supposed to like maybe be rivals with them, but I feel like Georgia State's kind of like the nicest team ever, and so I always root for them. And so they're super scrappy. I mean, I feel like everyone on the East Coast is scrappy and does weird things and the West Coast is typically more traditional. And I think that can get them. But I will say I may have been rooting for Georgia State when they were playing UCLA. And they put on quite a show. Like I think UCLA took them too lightly. They're a team that goes down fighting no matter what team they're playing. So
Yeah.
I think people underestimate them a lot, especially because they're not as big of a team. Like they don't have maybe huge girls, but they have girls who know how to place the ball really well and good ball control.
Yep. Anything to add, Mac?
I would just say that watching them play this weekend was super exciting, and like Erica said, they put up a fight, and I don't know, it'll be interesting to see how we play against them and what our matchup is, because some of our teams play very similar to them, so it should be a fun game for sure.
Yeah, they definitely grind things out. And from what I can gather, from what I've seen on feeds and streams and Instagram lives, it's, they definitely go for it. There is a never say die mentality on that team, and they get really creative on their shots. And like, whoa, they just pulled that off. Extreme angle over on one, digging great balls and just popping in the deep corner, just crushing any kind of momentum the other team would have, thinking they've got the point winner. So with that, let's move up. We're going to skip your team. They were definitely in our discussion, but I wanted to focus more on up until then, teams like Cal, for instance. They had a few wins already this weekend. Saying Cal Poly, Pepperdine, and Boise State and Southern Miss. So they're undefeated this week. Super strong West Coast team, but kind of behind the USC's, UCLA, and the Pac-12. But what do you think about their chances of pushing into the tournament this year potentially?
I think they have a chance. I know Anna Costa she's their 1 seed, right?
Mm-hmm.
And
with Mima Merkovich.
She came from Stetson, so I know that she's like a really strong player up there. So I think they have a good team and they have a shot, but I do want to see them fight more against the bigger schools, get like a better win in. Because I know that their wins, they beat Pepperdine, which we are up in the air about. And I don't know, I need something to compare it to on the East Coast, which is what a lot of the West Coast people struggle with when they're trying to rank East Coast teams. So I don't know.
Yeah, I guess I don't really know much about Cal, honestly.
Yeah.
Hopefully East Coast teams really get to see them much, so.
Well, they are definitely a growing program in the Pac-12, and they're just pushing that bubble. Unfortunately, you got the powerhouses of SC and UCLA constantly getting the attention, and rightfully so. We've got big players, but that's what makes the game exciting when teams from the East Coast can pull some big upsets in each of the matchups. So let's move up on our ranking here. Like I said, I didn't update my notes based on the AVCA rankings, which came out yesterday. So it may be a little confusing here, but we'll jump in and take it as we go here. Florida State 12-3, 3-1 overall in the CCSA. How'd they perform this weekend in March to May, in your opinion?
You want to go? Okay. Well, I was gonna say I know that they're also struggling with their lineup. Like I think they performed really well, but I think they're messing around with their lineup because I don't think they know what their strongest lineup is right now. They almost beat UCLA. I really thought they had them, to be honest. Like I wasn't impressed with FSU the weekend before, but then this weekend, because we've been at like almost every single tournament with them, but we didn't play them every time. So last weekend the weekend before I wasn't impressed, but this weekend I was very, very impressed. I think they got it locked in a little bit more and the teams are bonding better. So the pairs are playing a lot better together.
Yeah.
I agree. We've definitely seen a lot of switches by them and just complete changes in every seed. So it looks like it's coming together, and they really had a close game against UCLA. So that was kind of a
exciting.
Downer.
Yeah, but I know we always root for East Coast
Yeah.
teams. It's so bad.
Oh, I get it. You're regional. You got to root for your regional homies. It's all good.
Riley Powers on UCLA came up to me because she's my really close friend, and she's like, "I've learned today that no one on this beach wants us to win." I was like, "Yeah, you're right."
But you got your Florida buddies over there. You know, you got Lexi and as well.
Yeah.
Well, we're going to move up into the top 3 here, and it's TCU, but they've actually moved into the number 2 spot in the current AVCA poll, which I thought was interesting because USC hadn't lost. They only had one duel, actually 2, FIU 5-0 and FGCU 4-1 wins for USC. But TCU had their tournament on their campus. ASU 5-0, ULM 5-0, UNO 5-0, Texas A&M, Corpus Christi 5-0. I'm curious as to athletes, and you see a poll, both teams are undefeated, but a move like that for TCU going up to number 2 while SC drops to the 3 spot. Does it matter in the end? Or is the move up justified?
I was honestly really surprised by the move. I think both teams played really well and performed this weekend. I don't know if there was, a reason why they should have been moved above USC. Not that it really matters at this point because, they're both, performing and it's not like one of them lost, but it was definitely an interesting move. And I would like to see them play each other to really tell who should be above the other.
I would agree because we played both. And I think it's a very, very close game.
Yeah.
Like, I think either team could win that. So while I don't know, I'm like confused about the move, but TCU has been like shutting out teams. So I think that's probably the reason why they got moved up.
Yeah, they've been performing super strong. 1 to 5 pair just been solid for TCU, which if you look at that lineup, that's gonna be a tough one to beat right there.
Yeah.
For UCLA, again, they were at the March to May this weekend, and obviously you guys came up short, but they had a really big win against Florida State. If I remember the correct order, they basically, UCLA was down 0-2 after the first wave. And I believe it was the, I just know that the second
one for FSU. And then the 3s won for UCLA. So I think it was the 4s and the 5s.
That's right. The 3s and the 5s tied it up for UCLA 2-2. It came down to court 4, which is their true freshman of Nally Miskowski and Sophie Moore. And it was a 3rd set tiebreak. And having the freshmen come in and play like senior leaders and get that win was pretty huge. I wouldn't have expected it, but it happened. But Florida State is so skilled. And they are a incredible team to watch, but wow, Sophie and Natalie pulled it off. So I don't know if you guys were on the beach still for that one, but it looked like it was a festive scene because, again, I would give a shout out to Dave TV, or that's Dave Van Winkle, IG living everything this last weekend. So got somewhat of a sense of what was going on. But what was your sense on the beach that was as all that was transpiring?
Once we saw that FSU won the first 2 games, we were like, it's over. Like, that's so exciting.
Yeah.
FSU took them down, and then it just took a turn. And there was a lot of energy. People were cheering. It was like the whole beach was crowded around that one court. So
everyone was watching because so the way that they had it set up was the 4, 5s, and 6 played first, and then the 1s, 2s, and 3s were a rolling start. So there was like a game going on, 1, 2s, and 3s. That was a different duel. And then that was a rolling start. So the way that it ended, the 1s and 2s ended first. The 1s, 2s, and 3s ended first, which was weird because that wasn't how it was supposed to go. So then no one could play. Like, the next game couldn't play because they were taking up the courts 4, 5s, and 6. So every single team that was on the beach was watching that game.
Wow. Yeah, I was wondering what the start was because wait a second, you got the 1s and 2s already completed, and then the 3, 4s, 5s getting those final points, which isn't normal for at least the duels that I've worked in here on the West Coast. So that was an abnormal start or format then for everyone then, huh?
Yeah.
it was interesting.
Well, I wanted to highlight one particular matchup that was so exciting to see. especially seeing the social media from your athletic department. But big upset for your Owls team. I mean, weekend started off not so great. You had losses at UCLA, South Carolina, Grand Canyon. But what did Coach tell you guys after going 0-3 in your first 3 duels at March to May? And Matt, take a shot.
It was honestly a sense of disappointment. Like, they were frustrated with us. Everybody was upset, and they're like, the only way we can pull out these wins is if we start playing our own game and stop focusing on the other team, what the jersey is, what their faces are. Like, just focus on our side, do the shots that we usually do, whatever the weird things that we like to do, and that's going to be how we pull out these games. So the morning of LSU, coach got involved in our warm-up. We went back to our fundamentals, like running pin sets and stuff like that, and just focused on our side, and it really helped our team a lot.
Yeah. It was definitely like the South Carolina loss was the first day, and UCLA, that was the first day. And we kept saying, oh, we're so close. And then after the Grand Canyon, when we were very, very close, our coach was like, close isn't going to win you games. It isn't going to get you to nationals. So I think that like that change in mentality, saying that like we're so close, but we're going to do those 1 or 2 little things to make it so that we're not so close anymore. We're winning the games. So I think we had a whole change in our mindset for the LSU game.
Well, you came out.
Yeah.
Oh, I would say you came out of those first 3 losses and that ended up taking it on a Conference USA duel with UAB and, basically swept them 5-0. Did you guys feel like you came out with a little more fire and motivation then in that one, even though it was UAB?
For sure. Yeah, you could definitely see the switch in everybody's gameplay and mentality, and it was a step in the right direction that just led into the next day. So that was...
And our coaches were like, it's a step in the right direction, but it's still not good enough to win us games. So keep going. And then that led us to being able to beat LSU the next day.
Well, let's segue into how the LSU match went. I went ahead and pulled up the order of finish. I imagine you guys are warming up and trying to follow, but also trying to warm up. But the order of finish were the 5s, the 4s, the 2s, the 3s, and then the 1s. Were you guys aware that you were tied, that it was as tight as it was when they started that second flight or second wave?
So we were able to watch the 4s and 5s completely. So we saw that we were 1-1 with them. And then once it was 1s, 2s, and 3s, I would try to peek over and figure out what was going on. But
I heard them say owls up, which means that we have game point.
Yeah.
I didn't know what point it was, but I was like, we have game point.
Yeah.
And this was like the beginning of our 3rd set. So I was like, oh my gosh, we have to win this.
Yeah.
So knowing that it was tied up 2 apiece, take us into the number 1 pairs, the dual deciding pair, which is you guys against Bella Bowman and Ashley Resnick Pope. And I mean, 17-21 and then flipping the scores in your first and second sets. You guys lost the first 17-21. They took the second 21-17. What was going on the court where I felt like it should have been tighter with the style of play that both you guys have, or, LSU and you guys have?
It personally wasn't my best game, if we're being honest. My defense is really good, but my side out was not great. And Ashlyn's defense was really good too. So that didn't help my side out because her defense is great. But I was mad that we lost the first set because I knew it was my fault that we lost and not anything that they were doing. So that 3rd set came and I was just like, all right, I am going to get locked in. I'm winning this for our team, not just for myself, but for our team. And I think that puts a different kind of pressure on you that's more fun. And like, I don't know, I was just really, really focused. And Mac was doing a really good job of like calming me down because I get very, very fast. And she was setting dimes, serving really well, and blocking very, very well.
Oh,
yeah.
How about you, Mac? What about everything that transpired on, building up to your guys' dual deciding match?
Yeah, I would definitely say the first set we beat ourselves. They didn't beat us. And then second set we came out stronger. We started with a good lead, which doesn't usually happen for us. And the same thing happened in the third set. We kind of had a good lead from the start, which was nice. And then once everybody was over on our court, it was just the energy was there. It was fun. And I mean, we had both teams cheering. It was just, we like the pressure and the competitive environment. So we thrive in that.
I think like once the teams got over, like they might have scored 2 points and then that was it.
Your teammates got into their heads, huh?
Yeah.
Well, so it was the final duel of the day, if I remember correctly. So it looked kind of dark on the beach. Like it was definitely getting
in the morning.
That was a morning one. Well, I guess it's my coast. I'm used to seeing it that dark on my coast. So looking at that score though, so in that third set for the match point winner, I got to ask, because Mackie went up on the block, Erica picked it up on the transition. You bump set butter, Mac. I have to say that was a beautiful bump set out to the pin. But I want to ask Erica, I mean, you had a big block on the net waiting for you. And I could see the defender, Ashlyn, shift over across court. Were you looking for where everyone is at? Were you just swinging for the win?
Well, the whole game I was looking and they kept juking me out. So I was like, you know what? At this point, I'm just going to go with my gut. She's probably going to dive on me and her block's probably not going to be that great. She did a really good job of diving the whole game, but I was like, if I turn it just a little bit, she'll probably won't get it. And so I was kind of hoping for the best because I knew Ashlyn was just like dancing around back there. Yeah. So any look wouldn't have helped me.
Well, I got to ask Mac, as the partner calling it, did you call a shot for her or did she ignore you? What happened here?
I ignore her a lot.
Yeah. I say high line regardless of where anybody is most of the time. So I'm sure that was my call, but we've been talking about the whole game. Ashlyn was, like she said, dancing around in the back. They were picking up every shot. So we kind of switched our mentality to just swing and hope for the best with that. Yeah. So that's
and had an excellent result because you go ahead.
Yeah.
I said
an excellent result though at the net though. I mean, if you see that video, I mean, there was no question. You were swinging away. Yeah. And you got her right arm and it went out of play.
Yeah.
So, but that's a big win though for FAU. I mean, I believe it's one of your biggest in your program's history. So, being a part of that, I mean, I didn't look up what your record was against LSU over the career since the start of your program, but I imagine it's got to be a pretty big, I mean, anyone would say we beat LSU. That's a huge win.
It's funny. Yeah. Because our freshman year, we beat LSU in like the first tournament 4-1, and that was our highest ranked win. So it's just funny that it's like our fifth year and it's LSU again is the team that we're pulling out the win on.
Yeah. Well, it was a great win. Congratulations, ladies. And gosh, it was, I mean, that tournament, it might as well have been the actual national championship, it felt like, because it just had such a great vibe and atmosphere there. And people are excited to watch good ball on the beach. And you ladies were getting it done. And yeah, it was a slow start, but honestly, the teams you played against, I wanted to get your sense because this was like the highest caliber of beach volleyball you're going to see in the nation until the national championships. But what was it like to be out there, pre-national championship?
It's crazy because everyone focuses so much on the rankings, but really any team can beat anyone on any given day. Like you think so highly of these certain school names, but when we go out there, it's really just a bunch of kids playing volleyball, and it's not as big of a difference as you think, even though the scores may not show it.
I mean, I think we realized that when we played UCLA, it's like we were just not expecting, but some of the girls came in with the mindset like, oh, it's okay if we lose or if we get demolished, but I'm going to play my heart out. And then once we were like really close with them, they were like, wait, like they're the number one team in the nation. So it was just a different mindset change, not caring that much about the rankings. And that got to us with South Carolina because we were like, oh, they're below us, they're worse than us, but they bested us. They played really well. And I think anyone can beat anyone. And that's seen FGCU beat Stetson that same weekend. So I really think anyone can beat anyone.
Yep. Anything to add, Mac?
Just that the gap is so small between each team. It's really not a huge difference. So it's really up in the air for the rest of the season on how everyone does. And I think that nationals this year specifically is going to be really exciting to watch, and there's probably going to be upsets that no one's expecting, and
Yeah.
The single elimination.
yeah, a lot of good play.
Hi everyone, this is Madison Fitzpatrick at Florida State, and you're listening or watching College Volleyball Weekly Beach Edition Top 20.
Hi, I'm Erica Brok from FAU.
Hi, I'm Mackenzie Morris from FAU.
And you're listening to College Volleyball Weekly Beach Edition.
Well, Charlie Mads are probably going to kill me for mentioning this, but it just seems like so far this season, the 1s and 2s are going to be just a brawl fest. You don't know what's going to happen. It can go either way. And it's going to come down to the 3, 4s, and 5s. Like who's going to be consistent, who's going to be able to get those wins and those extra dual points, because you just don't know what's going to happen in the 1s and the 2s, since it's just crazy watching some of the play, because you have Danny and Tanya TCU undefeated, and then they were,
FSU, right?
What's that?
Danny and Tanya lost to FSU.
Yeah, that's right. They had that one loss, and then you guys beat Maddie and Brok of FSU. I mean, there's like this circle of parity going on with the number 1. So it's like on any given day, you could be lucky and just get a bunch of cable balls that fall on the other side, or just barely hit the sidelines. So, it's gonna be crazy watching the 1s and 2s, but the 3, 4s, and 5s, if you've got that depth, that's where your team's gonna win those duels.
For sure.
So with that big win, exciting to watch. I'm hoping someone posts more video on it, but it's great seeing you guys play and get that win, especially it was so smooth, that final point, by the way. I was like, wow, that was like it's set up. All right, good job, girls. So let's go to this week's weekly awards, and what I could find so far. AVCA College Beach Volleyball Pair of the Week, Alanis Novice and Abby Hansen of Grand Canyon. They're on court number 2, so I don't know if you got a chance to see them this weekend at March to May, but they basically were undefeated this weekend as well. So good on them. For CCSA, Maddie Anderson and Brooke Bauer get the Pair of the Week. Pac-12, Sophie Moore and Natalie Miskowski. Big West was Tia Mirich and Ella Connor. So still trying to find the WCC and Conference USA. So
well, we're the Conference USA.
Oh, shocker. Oh, there we go. We found out here. Hello. Well, then, hey, let's interview. No, well, congratulations. I was trying to find on the site today, or some kind of social, who got it for Conference USA.
Yeah.
Well, congratulations on the big win. I'm going, who else could it be?
Yeah.
Well, congratulations, and congratulations to all the recipients, because getting that award is huge from week to week because of the level of competition that's happening on the court, or at the duels and at the tournaments. So let's jump over some other news. 100 wins for Coach Hector Gutierrez of TCU last week, got his 100th win against Arizona State. Tina Gradina, her 100th win against FIU on March 16th. With that, we talked about the polls. Not a whole lot of movement, but definitely one of the hotter teams is FAU. They've been creeping up a step each week. What do you think of your team's chances on moving even further up and breaking the top 10? Because you're at 10, but moving up, especially with teams like GCU, Hawaii, Cal, Stanford. I don't think you see any of them coming up here for the rest of the season, because everyone's made their trips for spring break and they're back on the West Coast. But can you guys make a big statement like on the team's play? Because the focus has been, and it's all due has been the number 1 pairs of you. But you definitely have a team behind you that's playing just as well, or equally as well. So here's your chance to toot your team's horn.
You me.
You got it.
In regards to moving up, I think just staying consistent across the board, and we don't have too many more matchups that are top 10 or ranked. So just trying to pull out the wins from the 1s through the 5s. And I know we have pairs that can do that consistently, and it's just a fact of going back to playing our game and being steady. And I don't know, I think we have a good shot of at least staying where we're at. We do have FSU coming up. which maybe we can pull out that
Pepperdine.
win.
Yeah.
Pepperdine, yeah. Yeah, not too many opportunities for like a big move, but I'm hoping if we, sweep some teams and stay consistent, then and other teams maybe lose a little bit, we can keep creeping up on the rankings.
I
Right.
think these next 2 weekends are important for us, and our team's got to be locked in. We have a lot of new people on our team that are in the lineup. Shout out to like our Czechs and like the indoor transfers. And it's like they haven't had much experience with college beach volleyball. So I think the farther we get into season, the better they're going to get. And so I'm really excited to see that.
That's crazy to know that you have some convert indoor players still, and they're learning the game, and you got your teams already as good as it is. So hats off to them and their efforts in learning the game. But I'm sure that you have taken on a leadership role, both of you, being that you've been in the program their 5th year now, being able to help them and ease them into the transition process of playing beach, right?
I think it helps that our volunteer coach is Christy, and she was an indoor transfer, and she didn't have enough time. Like when she was on the team, she didn't have enough time to really learn the beach game to be able to get in the lineup. So she's really focused on getting extra reps with these girls, watching film, telling them what to do, because she was in their exact same shoes. So I think that's really helpful.
Right. Well, let's jump over into what's coming up this week. We're going to save your guys for last. It's the Stetson Invitational. But before that, there is a couple other top 20 matchups. There's Long Beach State versus Cal Poly, which is an interesting matchup because Long Beach State has a losing record, but they are literally points, not dual points, set points away from being a winning team. They are literally there at each of their pairs. They're just losing by deuces at the end and in third set tie breaks. And Cal Poly, which is a younger team, and obviously with the coach of Todd Rogers, they're going to be a good and a well-disciplined team. So curious how that's going to pan out this week here. That's going to be in Long Beach, not at their normal facility, but they're actually going to be on the beach over by Belmont Shores. So what do you guys know about the Long Beach State or Cal Poly?
You got anything?
Well, I mean, we got to watch Cal Poly at FSU, and we were supposed to play them, and I don't know what happened to that because we were all really mad and we wanted to play them, and then we watched them play against Tampa, and Tampa's a really good team, but it was the first tournament. I don't know if they were with their lineup and stuff, but Tampa beat them. And so from that point on, I haven't been super impressed because I haven't gotten the chance to see them. But I know that they pulled out some wins because they've beaten Long Beach State, and Long Beach State has beaten some other teams. So I think at this point, anyone can really beat anyone. It just depends. And like you were saying, that one team is so close that's just so frustrating. And at one point, it's going to click and they're going to win those games.
Yep. Well, the continuation of that tournament goes on to Saturday as well. It's all the Big West teams. Hawaii, which is number 9 versus number 15 Long Beach State, then Hawaii against Cal Poly. But I'm going to jump over and go eastward. The LSU Invitational, which has LSU, Tampa, ULM, Florida State, TCU, and Houston Baptist. That is going to be a crazy tournament. Saturday, March 26th is number 6 LSU versus number 4 Florida State at 7 p.m. Central. And that is being streamed. I received the link to that. But I wanted to get your guys' thoughts on that matchup.
Yeah, I think that's a really good matchup. They're both really deep teams across all their seeds, and they're also big teams. Like they got a lot of tall girls that like to swing and play more traditional. So I think that's going to be a really good matchup. I think it could go either way, honestly. What do you think?
Yeah, I don't know because FSU might be a little bit littler than LSU. Like LSU has some really tall girls and a big
6'7" hard to match up with on the beach.
Yeah. Like even 6'7", and then the girl at the 2s, she's huge and she has a nasty serve. So I'm excited to see that because it's going to be who can stay in it the longest, because FSU is probably going to be more scrappy, but LSU is going to be more dominant at the net. So I really don't know who's going to win that game.
Yeah.
Plus, it's going to be at nighttime, so that changes a lot of things because I hate playing at nighttime. So
they're going to be at Death Volley. It's all day long there. So on Sunday, they go right back into action. Another top 5 match, actually top 6. Number 2 TCU versus number 6 LSU. And again, that's another smaller, scrappier team, but they've got great fundamentals and they're winning. So again, LSU, have you guys seen TCU this year?
Yeah, it was our first game.
That's right. But I mean, as far as matchup wise, since what do you know about them versus LSU that could tilt either team's way based on what you know so far?
I think TCU's got a really, really strong lineup. Like I think everyone is at the right spot for them. Like I think they have a lineup that's locked in to me. And so I would like to see LSU try and fight that because I think going in, I think TCU is going to be the favored team. I'm personally going to favor them.
I agree. I think TCU is super scrappy. They don't let anything drop. They have some big girls on the team, so I think they get to practice against that a little bit more too.
Like Daniela is probably a really good blocker to practice against because she's big.
I mean, what did we say? The ones for them are basically unstoppable. Was it their 4s also that have been undefeated?
Yeah, well, the 5s too. It's Megan Murray and Rochelle Scott. They're deep. I looked at their line like, oh wow, yeah, and yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing.
They're very deep, which is very good for them.
Yeah, well, they have these Spanish team members all across there, and the one Spanish team that's tied up, paired up with the Puerto Ricans. So, they've all been winning. So they're definitely a strong team to contend with, just because they're so good, and they have the combination of youth and senior leadership. Because you got Megan Murray, who's a grad transfer from UCLA, who played at the 5s and is dominating in her spot as a 5s at TCU. So. They've got a good mix of team members there to make it a well-rounded team. Next one, we're getting closer to yours, but there's some West Coast action, some Pac-12 action. It's why Charlie's not here. They're at the Pac-12 North, which has the Arizona team who received votes this year. They're number 20 in the college beach volleyball pool versus Cal. Then you have number 8 Stanford versus number 1 UCLA. And then Saturday, number 3 USC, who I'm sure is not happy about the drop in the poll against number 1 UCLA. Thoughts on that weekend of the Pac-12 North tournament?
I'm excited for that. I was actually looking at that because I wanted to see USC play UCLA again because I think after losing, I think it's really hard to beat a good team twice. So I think UCLA's got to work their butts off because USC is coming for them. And then I'm also excited about the Stanford because I want to see how they match up against a team like UCLA.
Yeah.
And obviously they need to keep winning their games and make a strong performance through that. But I really want to see them match up against UCLA.
Yeah. All right. That brings us to where you ladies are going to be at with your team this weekend. The Stetson Beach Bash. Number 10 FAU versus number 18 Stetson to start it off. What are your thoughts on the matchup?
Honestly, it was a tough game last time we played Stetson. I think that their matchup against us is really strong. For some reason, we have always kind of struggled against Stetson. They're a really scrappy team, a little bit smaller, which is kind of how we operate too. Hopefully we learned our lesson from the last time we played them and played better, but it's always a fun game playing against them, and we know some of their team members too, so that makes it fun and exciting.
Yeah.
It's going to be fun because this will be the first time we see FIU and the first time FIU gets to play against a good team besides USC.
Mm-hmm.
And so that'll help me get a sense of where I think FIU should be. And Georgia State and Stetson, all good teams. So all the matchups that weekend are going to be really, really good.
No, I wasn't asked specifically about the number 10 FAU versus FIU. They're in at number 19, but that's your rivalry match, right?
Yeah. Big rival. I think our first time beating them ever in program history was last year. And our coach cried. So
then we went on to beat them a few times.
Yeah.
We must have played them at least 6 times last season, and the fact that we haven't even played them yet is kind of crazy. But I don't know who they have left on their team. I'm sure a lot of them are gone.
I know Paige Kalkoff's at the ones.
Okay.
Yep.
Yeah, I think they get a lot of foreign girls, so
Yeah.
it's not many people that I grew up playing with.
Well, FAU's proven to be very successful so far, and especially with this breakout. For those who aren't able to keep up with what's happened with the CCSA, maybe one of you can explain it better than I can, but obviously there's been a break off in the conference. It's formed the CCSA and now the Conference USA. What does that mean for tournament selection and so forth? If you know, I know that now the tournament's to 16 teams, but everyone's kind of wondering what the format's going to be. But what does it mean now that you have this new this split of the conference for the teams in your conference?
I think it makes it harder for us to, like, last year we were upset that they split the conference because then we didn't get a chance to play against TCU and FSU and LSU again to give like one last shot to prove ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's just important. Georgia State's coming. Georgia State's on the rise. We're on the rise. FIU has always been good. So I think it's important for all of our teams to establish themselves throughout the season so that our conference can be looked at as a harder conference.
Do you guys have an AQ in the Conference USA then? Do you know?
A what?
An automatic qualifier like from the tournament?
What I've heard or what our coaches said is this year, regardless of what conference you're in, if you win, you get to go. I'm not sure if that's true. That's what Steve said.
I thought
that could be.
I've heard mixed reviews. I thought that the conference, I guess this would be the second year, a conference has to be established for 2 years in order to get the automatic bid.
So this is, well, with COVID, that kind of messed things up. So, but last year it wasn't in play yet, right? For the 2021, it was still just CCSA.
It was split,
but it was still one.
That's what makes it confusing, guys. Like, wait, well, there's the aqua and the blue conference.
Yeah.
Like, what?
It's like our conference just had a different name. I don't know. It was weird because we were at the same tournament and we were playing at the same time. So we saw the team. It was just really weird.
Yeah. Well,
on that.
No.
Well, it's been a very entertaining week for college beach volleyball and for you too, particularly the Conference USA Pair of the Week recently crowned. So got Erica Brok and Mackenzie Morris of FAU. Appreciate you taking the time this week on our FAU takeover of the College Volleyball Weekly Beach Edition Top 20, since Mads and Charlie are MIAs. So always great speaking with you, ladies.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks for having us.